Let's Talk Prevention Idaho. This podcast is a production led by the statewide nonprofit Community Coalitions of Idaho, or CCI. Here at CCI, it is our job to support the work of prevention across the state of Idaho through education, training, and providing valuable resources. We help make the work of prevention happen all across Idaho. This podcast will update listeners on what CCI is doing from week to week, as well as provide information for vital professionals in Idaho across the country. All right, everybody, how's it going? Welcome to yet another episode of Let's Talk Prevention here in the great state of Idaho. I know it's been a while since we've had an episode. Been kind of busy. We had a ton of episodes for our amazing fall prevention conference that we had up in Moscow, I got that right, Moscow, Idaho. And so we had a really great opportunity to have tons of speakers. You guys saw all of those speakers give us some interviews on the podcast, which was amazing. And then just really got tied up with the holidays. And then the first of the year was crazy. We were in Washington, D.C., having a good old time with a lot of prevention partners at CADCA Forum out at the Gaylord in Alexandria. And we got a chance to meet our legislators in person in their offices, which was great because I haven't been able to do that since COVID. The actual Capitol had just opened to the public again the day that we were there, which was kind of ironic. And it was my first time actually being in Washington, D.C. in those offices. And we should probably do, I'm probably going to pull together some of the folks that went with us to Washington, D.C. so that we could just do a podcast off of our experience for that conference, because it was really amazing. It was a long week. Me and our grant evaluator, Jim Hopla, we went out, stayed the whole week because we hung around for the DFC grant workshop, because yes, we are applying for the next 5 years of the Drug-Free Communities grant. So we wanted to sit through the workshop and learn everything we could to be as successful as possible so that we could be funded again for another 5 years to continue to do some amazing stuff to support the coalition work that happens here in Idaho. Primary prevention is necessary, and it'll help relieve some of the issues that we're dealing with when it comes to all these people in recovery. If we can get the message out to people earlier before they start using drugs, right? So one of the ways that we are doing this is we're teaming up. So we're always looking for people to partner with, ways that we can take what someone else is doing and amplify it, or make it make it better, or bring it directly into our particular communities. And here at CCI, we don't do that direct programming, but we always are looking for ways to support and amplify our members, partners, and anybody else in the state of Idaho that's working in prevention to amplify their efforts that they're doing. And one of those coalitions is BYDC, and we're sitting down with Jim Hopla, who wears many hats in the state of Idaho, because you also work with the Bonneville Youth Development Coalition, right, Jim?
Yes, I do. I have way too many hats, way too many.
What's your current role over at Bonneville Youth right now?
I took over as the executive director about a month and a half. I've worked with BYDC for probably 7 years as an evaluator, business official. I stepped in, now it's about the second time I stepped in as executive director, but helped kind of write some grants. But yeah, I'm over here as executive director now. So
yeah, and he's had his hands full because he's not only writing the drug-free communities for them as well, but he's also block grant and all kinds of stuff. So he's been super busy taking over the helm over there, and we're just excited that he was able to give us a few minutes to talk about what he's doing, because he's asked us to come in and partner with Bonneville Youth Development Coalition out in Idaho Falls area to do a really cool thing. So PBS created this documentary on vaping for Idaho, about Idaho, which is always amazing, always great, because we know that people in Idaho want to hear from their own perspective. They want to hear from their own people. They really aren't keen on bringing in a bunch of outsiders. They want to know what does it look like for us here? What is it looking for us like on the ground, kind of thing. So PBS has created this documentary that I think is going to be launching here in the next day or so. And you guys are doing a cool event wrapped around that documentary. What is that, Jim?
Yep. So what we did is we partnered up with Eastern Idaho Public Health and then also with PBS. And PBS developed a documentary called Nick Sick. It's spelled N-I-C and then sick, S-I-C-K, which basically is a slang term that teens use for nicotine addiction. But it's called Do You Know Vape and the Dangers of Youth Vaping. So they developed this or produced this documentary. It's supposed to be released on PBS actually on the 21st of March. And then what we're doing is we're having an event at the Civic Center for Performing Arts in Idaho Falls on March 28th at 7 p.m. We're going to show that documentary. So we'll have a viewing of the documentary, and this is for anybody in the community, parents, youth, and it's for pretty much anybody. It's going to talk about the dangers of vaping. It's going to interview some kids, it's interviewing some specialists, some professionals throughout the state. And then after that documentary, we are having a moderated Q&A with a panel discussion, and then also with within the audience to be able to ask questions about vaping and those dangers. And we've got some great people on the panel. We've got an SRO, we've got a respiratory therapist, we've got a health education specialist. We actually have a mother and a son that are in the documentary. So kind of this boy's story, and they'll be there to kind of talk about their experiences with it. But we're looking at a really cool night. We're trying to get as many people there. But the exciting thing about it is the people that we've partnered with. I'm stoked about the partners. It's not just a BYDC and an Eastern Idaho and a Public Health and a PBS sponsored event, but we are partnering with the Bonneville County Sheriff's Department. We're partnering with Idaho Falls Police Department, Idaho State Police. We're partnering with Community Coalitions of Idaho, which is you, Sugar Salem School, Idaho Falls School District 91, Bonneville School District 93, Ryrie School District, Madison School District, West Jefferson School District, and also another coalition in Idaho Falls, which is SIA. We also are getting a lot of support from a program that BYDC works in the schools, which is called Catch My Breath. And it is a 4-lesson program that we've been doing both in some elementary schools and then also in the middle schools, health classes to talk about vaping and the dangers that are with vaping, that we also partner with Eastern Idaho Public Health with on that too. So this is a great event. I'm excited because we're able to get really some good information out to parents and also to kids on those dangers with youth vaping. So.
And that's one of the things we were talking about earlier was that it seems to be still a lot of confusion exactly where the dangers lie with vaping. But one of the things that we are pretty clear with is that it's dangerous, it's not good for us. And it's really neat that you're going to have experts on hand to answer questions. Because I'm sure if professionals like you and I who do this day in and day out still have some questions on where what exactly is harming our bodies, I'm sure parents and community members have the same questions, right?
Yeah, we get a lot of parents that they're asking that same question. They're finding tons of vape pens in schools. They're being confiscated by SROs. So it's picking up a lot of speed, especially within youth. Most of these vape pens contain nicotine in them. We know nicotine's addictive. The dangers of both addiction, then also what it does to the body, both when we talk about what it does to the lungs, also what it does to the brain, what it does to the heart. But yeah, parents want to know what really is in these things and how rampant this really is. Are their kids doing it? Is it easy to conceal? Yeah, we've got parents with a lot of questions. This should answer those questions.
It was neat too is having a youth on hand, because one of the things I always do in coalition work when we're looking at making decisions is I always look at the youth in the room. What do you think? So it's really neat to have a youth not only in the documentary but there to give his perspective on why he got involved and the issues and stuff. Because as parents, you're always, I mean, I remember just this last conference we went to in DC, learning how parents saw their kids healthy and fine, sent them to bed, and woke up the next morning and found them, fallen dead to fentanyl poisoning. So it's like, as parents, that's scary. You're like, what do I do? Parents are really like, okay, get to the nitty gritty. What do I have to do to keep my kids safe from this? So the more information, the different perspectives you can give them, parents feel like they can be better prepared for a worst case scenario, right?
Yeah, and there'll be some resources. It's going to give you access to the PBS's website, which they have a website now it has the documentary with on there too, which is called No KNOW Vape, and it's off the Idaho PDT website. But and I'll give you the address. It's actually idahoptv.org / and then No Vape, KNOWVAPE, has some really good resources. But what we really want as an end goal is for parents to really sit down and have some conversations, plural, not just one, but have conversations so they can sit there and talk. They're probably one of your best prevention tools as parents with kids when it comes to drugs and alcohol, and have conversations on what those dangers are of vaping with adolescents. It's just not good. There are some huge dangers, and we just want parents to talk to their kids.
Yeah, and those conversations can be as easy as sitting down and having dinner and just talking about your day, and talking about what you saw. Like, yeah, I saw this documentary and showed me some really things that opened my eyes about vaping. And you may not have to you don't always have to get into the nitty gritty of, don't you vape with every conversation, but just having those conversations, letting your kids know it's okay to talk to you about the things they come across in at school and their peer groups and stuff. It's so vital, that communication piece. If you don't have that communication piece, it's so much scarier being a parent if you don't have any kind of line of communication. And studies show families that eat dinner together 3 or more times a week, your kids are I think 80% less likely to fall into addiction problems, and that covers the gamut. So yeah, those conversations are vital, and hopefully this documentary empowers parents to have more of those conversations, sit down with their kids, watch it. It's not very long, it's about 45 minutes.
Yeah, documentary is not long at all, about 45 minutes. Then we're looking at about another 45, 50 minutes with the Q&A. I mean, you're talking, a couple hours out of your night to learn more about a substance and learn more about a device right now that is, coming straight from the manufacturers, and it's causing a lot of problems.
So once again, where are you having this? What's the name and address of the location where you guys will be?
Good. So it's the Civic Center for Performing Arts. It used to be known as the Civic Auditorium. It's just adjacent or right next to and attached to Idaho Falls High School in Idaho Falls. It's at 7 p.m. on March 28th. And be there, a little early. We've got a couple grab bag things to send out. Plus, we also have some good prizes and gift certificates that were donated by several places in Idaho Falls for those that attend it, and then fill out the questionnaire at the end. We wanted to make sure there was some good incentives within it, but great information, great documentary. But yeah, learn more about what the dangers of vaping are. 28th of March, 7 p.m.
And if you want to find out more about this online, where can they go to?
Eastern Idaho Public Health actually has a link for there. They can also go to BYDC.org. We have a link, and we have information on where that's at. And then also we put it out on social media, both in Instagram, Facebook, and then also, it's on those websites. But yeah, it's out there. So
cool. Well, Jim, I want to thank you for taking a few minutes out of your busy day to share with us about this event, and hopefully we can have you and some others back, and we can talk more about vaping, this documentary, and what it looks like for Idaho, and some of the dangers that we know about so far. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. If you've listened to this podcast you liked it, please share it with a family member, colleague, friend. These are geared towards those of us working in prevention, but this information is not just for prevention folks. This can be given to your neighbor, given to your brother-in-law, even your parents. Any links or information that we talked about in this podcast will be in the description below. So if you're like couldn't follow what Jim and I were talking about, you're right slow like me, don't worry about it. All the information and links will be directly down below. So all you have to do is scroll and scroll, swipe, and click. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today and taking a few minutes out of your day to learn a little bit more about prevention and what we can do to make it so much better here in Idaho. I want to thank you and have a good day. Bye, guys.